Welcome to the April 10th Select Board meeting. The agenda for tonight is to look at the warrant articles that we hadn't seen yet and make a recommendation on those. So those are coming from the planning board, so people are ready to speak on that. But before we do that, based on the conversations that we had in regards to the comprehensive plan and whatnot, and the edits and whatnot, what I'm going to suggest is that we remove Article 26 from the warrant so that the edits and things can be done before that would get presented, because according to the information we got, once we sign it, it is official. So we want to make sure that the edits and things are in there correctly. So does anyone have a objection to that? Other than Peter.
811 to Levitt Road. So just as a point of clarification, as far as the comprehensive plan, the only part of it that becomes applicable is when the select board signs off on it. Right. Is the state mandated elements. Mm-hmm. So the other elements that are basically from the community that is specific to Raymond, that's what generally gets adopted by the town. As far as the edits go, you don't have the ability to edit anything that's a state requirement.
Correct.
I mean, you could, but then it all goes back to the beginning. So the only thing that your edits would do would be to involving the wording of anything specific to the town of Raymond.
Correct.
So just to clarify that, that's the only thing that would be impacted.
Right.
And I guess what I'm just at a loss at is since we haven't had any information to date as far as edits from Select Board, it's as discussed on Tuesday night, when I received, and Kayla and I received the Select Board's direction as to what they would like to see the edits to be. As I recall, there were very few. So unless there's been any significant edits after that point, then I don't see a reason to have to delay it. Now, once again, I'll give you an example. If what you did was decide to just change the language concerning, and this seems to be the one that's come up the most frequently, from a priority action, a recommendation by the comprehensive plan, that there be a sidewalk or running path or bike path the length of Cape Road. And the Select Board felt that it might be better to have that as a more generic description of the fact that what we want, the people want, is to have more in the way of sidewalks, trails, bike paths in the town. I don't know that I would consider that a major change.
Right.
If, in fact, what you're doing is you want to say that there really should be no priority for sidewalks, bike paths, or trails in the town of Raymond. Or you were still needing to discuss that because members of the Select Board were suggesting that they have heard from citizens that that's what they would like to see is no bike paths, no trails, no sidewalks, then I could see that as being a major reason why you're going to need more time to study this and edit it. Otherwise, like I say, I'm just at a loss as to what significant changes you have. Thanks.
Well, the issue being is if we were going to do edits on it, it's not a clean document. So, I mean, the edits that we're talking about are the ones that I had, that we had sent to you, which are not major substantive changes. It's some wording changes like removing the specific name of a company or removing a specific traffic, a speed device instead of being generic in that, but the fact is, if we're going to say that, this is the comprehensive plan, and then we have things that are edits that are done there, then it's not a clean document that, I feel, I'm not saying it wouldn't go to the town, but I'm saying let's get those done, and then if a special town meeting needed to be done or whatever to adopt that, then that's all good. But what I'm saying is, that is not a clean document at this point, if we know that there's edits that have to be made to it.
Okay, so I guess my other question would be this. I left here Tuesday night with the understanding that the Select Board was going to look at those edits.
Right.
And that the interim town manager was going to contact North Star.
Right.
To see about getting custody, if we don't already have it, or access to editing the plan. And so my expectation was, since my knowledge up to this point was that there were very minor changes that had to be made, that could have been accomplished by tonight. So I guess I'm a little off.
Unfortunately, North Star was not in a position to do it, and staff was not in a position to do that, because the document they had was not editable at that level. So, I mean, that's where we're at, so.
So informationally, North Star has not given the town the custody and the ability to edit the plan.
Correct. Yes.
And so I was misinformed, because North Star told me that they had done that, and they told me that back in December.
Yeah.
Because I know Kevin, I talked to him today, and he does not have it.
Yeah.
He says that we need to request it from them, all those documents.
That's
So,
okay.
yeah.
I'll be following up with North Star on that. because that was misinformation. And obviously, had we had that information in advance of this, then it wouldn't delay the approval. So I guess otherwise, if you have major changes to make to it, or you simply can't get on the website right now and edit that document, that's what I'm hearing.
That's correct. I don't have the capacity to edit that document.
And Kevin,
Or if
No,
I did,
Kevin doesn't.
yeah.
yeah, he doesn't have the
So
capacity.
yeah, when talking with
Kevin also said legally he cannot do that.
All right, so I'll ask it a different way. Outside of the legal aspects, does he have the physical capability to edit that document?
No, he doesn't have it.
And that's from the version that North Star has now.
That is from Kevin directly when I talked to him today. He does not have it. He says what's going to happen is North Star, he's going to have to write a letter to say, you need to send us all the documents, because Kevin is thinking that it's a bunch of little documents that go together, is what it is to get that bigger document. And no, he does not have it.
All right, I'm incredulous with that. I guess to me it just doesn't seem necessary. I don't know why it's gotten down to this late a time.
Well, the simple answer to that is we thought the edits were going to be made. They weren't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where we're at.
We thought that they were
So,
going to meet for the March.
We had asked for those to be
March
made. They
11th.
didn't get made, so now we have to do that. So
May I ask a question? More for clarification, because it's all new to me. And I think I heard that it wasn't an ordinance, and it wasn't a true warrant, if you will. I can't remember the words you used. If we had it ready for the informational, is that too late to get it printed?
Yep,
yes,
Okay.
tomorrow's the deadline.
tomorrow's the deadline for printing.
I knew there was timetables. I knew we were
Yeah.
getting down to it. This is
Yeah.
why we did the rush to get the budget done the way we did.
Okay, thanks.
The way we did. This makes sense.
Grace?
A quick question. So, Grace Lava, 2 Leverett Road. So because of the deadline for printing paper copies of the document, you're saying
No,
you couldn't-
printed copies of the warrant,
of
because
the
that's
warrant.
that's got to go out on the.
Okay, but not of the comprehensive plan. So is it not possible for some reason, some legal reason or something, to go ahead with the warrant article, since that doesn't actually have the comprehensive plan in it?
It does, the
It does.
26th.
No.
If it makes reference to it, that is the document. So if the
Correct.
document is not
But if you're-
correct,
If your motion tonight were to recommend Article 26 on the warrant, as it's currently written, with the stipulation that those edits are going to be made before the next meeting, before the warrant, the warrant will go ahead and get printed, but it doesn't actually have the comprehensive plan. In other words, what I'm understanding is those were very minor kinds of edits, and to delay this any further, I mean, this has been 2.5, it feels more like about a century at this point. Seriously, to delay getting the town to vote on this and moving forward with it, with the warrant, as well as a special town meeting sometime later in the summer. Well, you were concerned about having an in-person town meeting in June or late May. because you felt more people would come to the election on June 10th, and you know how many people would come to a special town meeting held much later in the summer. I hope it wouldn't be later than that. And this is a pretty important document that a lot of people worked really hard on and got input from a large number of members in the community. So I would hate to see it delayed. So if there's any way to go ahead with the warrant article, with you all stipulating those edits will indeed be made before the public is seeing it, because nobody's going to see this warrant just yet, the warrant just yet. That will take some time.
Once we sign the warrant, it's published.
The warrant is published.
That's correct. And any attending documents are
Done, even if it's just changing a comma or something like
It's
that.
not
That sets a bad precedent if we,
It does.
if we
I
go
understand that.
and then try to change in the background. We're already getting, bombarded for other stuff. Like if we tried to
I
change the comprehend, I'm not a big fan of that.
I understand that, but if it's publicly stated with those edits being made, because I too, yeah, okay, yeah. No.
Well, I mean, I agree, but we also thought that this was going to be, the changes were going to be made in it. And last Tuesday night was a bit of a, I think, cold water in my face on that one, knowing that they were not made. And now it's somebody that, now it's either the town manager or whoever has to make the changes. And we've been told several times that we have to own these changes. And to me, it's a whole town comprehensive, everybody puts their 2 cents in. And if we don't have it done by the time we're doing this tonight, I'm a no on that vote.
So if I could just respond to that, at the April meeting, in which you were in attendance, Teresa.
I was.
April, okay, early April. Rolf was not present.
Right.
And I believe that Dennis and Derek were present. And so I'd ask, did I not make it clear that the edits from the sheet that I handed out to all of you were not going to be, and Kayla was here as well, and we both agreed, was not going to be made by us. That we were done, that that basically what I did was, in order to try and facilitate and make things easier, I took the recommendations from the Select Board as far as what edits you wanted. They were all minor and simple. However, it is a large document. I went through the entire document. I changed the things that the Select Board wanted that were minor, such as not mentioning Lou Necco's name, not making general descriptions on what roads or sidewalks or whatever would be impacted. And then I believe there were a couple of other things where in our assignment of responsibilities for implementation, the Budget Finance Committee was identified when in fact it was pointed out by selectmen that no, that was not within the authority of the Budget Finance Committee. So I did make those changes as a courtesy. I was here early last month, with the majority of you up there. I can't recall if Sam was there or not, and was pretty emphatic that we weren't making those changes. So I'm a little confounded at this point, Teresa, that this, last Tuesday, this was kind of a surprise to you.
Did you hear what you just said? You said you made those changes. You just said.
No, I didn't say I made the changes. I said what I did as a courtesy. As a courtesy, I wrote out to the Select Board the changes that they would have to implement, because I made it clear at last month's meeting that the committee was done making edits. And the fact that, there had been one error that got by the committee involving the sidewalk, trail, bike path along Cape Road. And that got past us. But it got placed after we signed off on it, the committee. It got placed on the website. So since December, the community has been reading that. And so Kayla and I were basically me. Kayla was one way or the other with it. But I was hesitant to change that verbiage based on the directive that I got from the Select Board. So I didn't change anything. And I brought it to you last month, and except for Rolf, I believe you were all in attendance and you heard it. So I
Okay.
still do not understand why, at this point, that, Teresa, you're surprised at the fact that I didn't make those changes in the document.
Okay.
And I believe
I'm not
I also-
surprised.
Wait.
I don't think
I
any of us.
described to all of
No,
you at that
I
point
am.
in time.
Reason
I
be-
described to you that my understanding
Yeah.
was that North Star had given custody of the document over to IT and to the former town manager. That was what I was led to believe. Therefore, I had every sense that you had the capabilities to do those edits.
Peter-
And yet, so not Tuesday, you all of a sudden got bushwhacked into, oh, we've got to make these changes because the deadline is coming up in 3 days. You had over a month to do it, and it didn't happen.
Okay, so, no, I'm going to, Cliff, thanks. All right, the changes, you were on the committee. You guys have a committee that did all this, that went with North Star, worked through North Star, did all of this. You've asked for input from public. You took the public's input on all of it. Then you asked for all the administrators at the time Suluk was here, send an email out to all administrators, department heads, all of that to make any kind of changes. Why else, I guess, would you ask for that if it wasn't going to be put in there? And for any one of us right now to just change that comprehensive plan on our own is not appropriate because we were not on that committee. And then when you came in with that letter that you said as far as showing us where and stuff like that, that's how I took it, what the changes were and what they were. So as far as being shocked, yes, I am, because we're not on the committee. And if you're on a committee that's going to follow a comprehensive plan all the way through to the end, let me ask you this. You guys have said already that you've washed your hands of this. You're done.
Well,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. 1 second, please, because I'm not done with my statement. What are you going to do if the town votes it down? Do you guys get back together as a committee? Because you guys have kind of like, you're done with
Asked a
it.
question?
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything to do with it. It's the selectmen's responsibility. In other words, that they would have to reform another committee, and we would have to start this process, 2.5-year process over again, which will delay what I believe the community has made quite clear what their goals are for the future of this town. But it seems like process, play, and delay seems to be the overall modus operandi of this group. So what I will say is this. You have, it was made clear to you
No, apparently it was not.
who was going to do the edits. I had the misinformation given by North Star, which I will follow up and find out what the cause of that is.
So Peter, I'm also speed running through 2.5 years of process from Tuesday night to right now. So my understanding of this might be not as complex as you're saying. So if I'm making a mistake, I apologize. But from my point of view, not finding the edits in any documents, not finding an editable document to do this, and then on top of that, making these edits as interim town manager and then going through the approval process of that document is where it spent probably a day and a half trying to figure this out. So that's where I'm at in that process. And if I misunderstood North Star, I apologize for that.
Well, okay, but what I'll tell you first, Joe, is I have every appreciation for the position you're in. It seems like in the last year, there's been a lot of people that are in that position because, they're new to the process, which is a whole nother topic. But anyway, I guess my question would be, from what I'm hearing from you, Joe, you're not absolutely sure that the town cannot at this point edit that document. In other words, you may have misunderstood what North Star told you.
You don't
Yes,
have it.
I can pull that up though. Yeah. So yeah, North Star said they cannot make any edits without understanding the scope of our needs. Additional state review might be required. So that's the response.
So let me interpretate that, help you out on the interpretation as I see it. After spending 2.5+ years on this process, what I heard in that was that North Star is not going to or cannot make any edits at this time. Is that correct? And so that's because North Star has no directives or authority to make any edits. The committee made the edits that North Star put in to the plan.
This is a poor committee process then. If the committee is now this, and North Star can no longer take any information from the committee to make edits because the committee is now done and dissolved.
This committee is not dissolved.
Well, it's not doing anything. It's done this. So the committee's done this, and
The committee's not doing anything, Mr. Ray?
Why not?
What am I? Chop liver?
You just said
you
were
just
not
said
doing
you
anything.
guys did
You
this
said it
up
several
there and said you're not
times.
doing
And I
anymore.
tried to explain.
So listen, hold on, just let me finish.
Sure.
You did this,
Yeah.
and you guys both said you're done with it. As the comprehensive plan committee, you're done with this document. You're done with it. You gave it to North Star. We have some edits to be done, and now North Star is saying they can't make the edits without you guys, but you guys have done this. So that's, I think, why we're at a weird standstill, is that you guys can't do anything.
No, that's not accurate.
Okay.
So the bottom line is the washing of the hands, could be interpreted in a number of ways, but I would tell you this.
You guys said you were done.
This committee is not disbanded. It has not been formally disbanded.
Right.
Right.
There was authority given to the co-chairs, and our job, as far as the committee member, is not done until the town either adopts or does not adopt this plan.
Okay.
So that's the reality.
So why
of
is the
situation.
committee not bringing the edits
so
to North
asking
Star and
North
telling them it's
Star
okay
at
to do
this
it?
point to do edits, they aren't going to do it. They have no authority to do it. And as far as the committee being done doing edits, we explained that was the case back in March. You were in attendance. We could go to the film. We can look at that if we want.
I'm not saying anything about any of that. You guys are done with it. The committee's done. The North Star cannot make changes without you guys telling them to make changes.
Correct.
Okay.
And
so this is what I'm saying.
at
It's a failed process. If you guys are done prematurely, so that you can't tell them to make edits, and they can't make edits unless you tell them to, it doesn't work. It's not a good system.
Because
Mr. Chair.
they were being paid to basically put together the website and to put together the document.
And to make edits, and to write it up.
Make edits or to make the write-ups based on what the committee directed them to do.
Right.
So they have no authority.
So let's
deep breath.
boil this down to simplest form. There's edits to be made. They have to be made by somebody. We don't have the capability at this point to do it. Once we get it, then it can be done. But the fact of the matter is that, what is out there is not a final document until those edits are made, because that is what we would sign and approve. So that's why I'm saying it's premature to have it on the warrant right now.
Mr. Chair, could I direct a question?
Yes.
Teresa suggested that she spoke to North Star today.
No, I
No,
didn't suggest
She
that.
spoke to Kevin.
I spoke to
Oh,
Kevin.
you spoke to Kevin.
Yep, and then Kevin does not have
And
it.
Kevin does not have access to it.
Nope.
Okay. So I guess really the question here is, we've got an issue with North Star because, in fact, that's not how we were informed. As far as this terminology, as far as edits are concerned and who can make them and who can't, basically the committee does the initial plan. It's then formatted by a highly expensive consulting agency so that it can be placed on a website and so that there's a Word document based on the edits from the committee. Once that's done, it goes to the state for the state approval. In December, the state approved it. At that point, we had the ability to do no more edits on that unless some huge issue in error came to our attention, in which case Kayla and I were granted, as co-chairs, the authority to go in and make changes. What happened in March is I explained to all of you that, in fact, the Comprehensive Plan Committee, the version that's on the website is our version. Any changes or edits to that from this point forward, before it goes to warrant or however it's going to be approved, is the responsibility of the board here.
Right, and they're saying that they can't do it.
So let's see if we can find a solution.
When you say they, it's you.
North Star.
You're
No.
you're saying you just can't get to the software to
Right.
change
That
the
as well,
language.
yes, that as
Yeah,
well.
so you've already made all the edits you're going to make.
No, we haven't.
No, there's
'cause we
been no
can't-
edit.
We can't edit it.
we
There's
are-
no, the software doesn't
Okay,
work.
you've already written down
Yes.
all of the changes you would like to see once there's ability to edit the document, to change the wording.
Can I, again, ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there a solution that we can have? Obviously, there's a misunderstanding. Obviously, there's some confusion. Obviously, there's someone new in the chair of the town management. Isn't there, because there's no financial impact per se to the taxpayers, why can't we put in a warrant for, not warrant in the sense of on this, but a written warrant by itself, at either a later date or before the 10-day notice or the 12-day or the 30-day, whatever that notice is for the public, and add it to this once it is amended? And I think it could be amended quickly once we decide how it's going to be done. Why can't we add it later?
Because the simple answer to that is, and it has come back time and time again, oh, that's not what was printed originally. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
that statement has come back time and time and time and time and time again. That's not what was printed originally. So now it says this, what's right? So the only way to do that is have the final document be correct. That is what gets voted on.
And I'm saying, if that's possible to do within the timeline.
No, it's not, because right now, it's referencing this, and once this is posted, then that locks those documents at that time,
Can I
which
see that
is,
envelope?
Okay.
once we sign the
I know we
warrant.
had a special town meeting to add a building on public
Right,
safety.
which, that's what I'm saying, is we take it off, and then, once that's all done.
What's
then
the
it goes-
deadline?
That's, wait a minute, this is what I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
then it would go back.
To a special town meeting.
Right.
Because,
Okay.
What's the deadline that we'd have to do that by to get it on for June?
it can't be on for the June, because
We don't have time already.
Yeah, and what I just heard,
You
that
gotta
you're
go to
saying
the-
that we can
Tomorrow.
have a special town meeting, we don't wait another year. That's what I was
no,
looking.
oh, yeah,
like
no,
for a
no,
solution.
yeah, it would
Okay.
definitely, so it's not to delay it a year.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting it done and then do a special town meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, she has.
I can do that. I can live with that. You know, if it gets done, we can.
Do it after the elections. What a great idea.
We can't,
Wow.
I think we're moving forward.
Moving
with
right
a
along.
Solution.
We get criticized for moving fast, we get criticized for moving slow, we just can't win this process, can we?
Okay, so let's get to the warrant, to the planning board articles. So who is speaking on those articles? What's behind each of those articles?
Jason Williamson, Assistant Code Enforcement Officer. I just gotta find. So I think it starts with the Article 27, the number of copies. This is an administrative change, just getting a lot of copies in more than we would need. And a lot of stuff is electronic now, PDF, so we figured didn't need as many copies for submissions.
does this save the applicant money?
I mean, it's less printing, so.
I like
So-
that idea.
Yeah. No, I'm just kind of looking at this, I didn't realize that was such a big deal as far as how many copies, how many,
There are-
that they have to have it.
There are insane amount of copies.
Okay,
And they're all,
as far as an ordinance goes,
Some of
okay.
those
Some of them
are
are
big,
large.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, nope.
takes up a lot of room.
All right, do you want me to make a motion on them?
Yes.
Okay, a motion to recommend Article 27 as written.
second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Article 28.
28, just, it's cleaning up some language about how long from when a permit is initially approved to how long they have to act on the permit. The wording was a little awkward, so that was just cleaned up a little bit just to make it more easier to understand.
Okay. A motion to approve Article 28 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
It just shows the select board paid absolutely no attention to anything the planning board was doing with the ordinance changes. Now that they
So,
Yeah.
29, again, these are another administrative change, just clarifying who is reviewing authority on the street design standards.
So footnote street designs. And the reviewing authorities. So what is this one again? Street design standards?
It's just who, I can't exactly remember, because we didn't even talk about this one much. Who is the reviewing authority for street design? I think.
Jason, you want me to touch on that at all?
Yeah, sure, Brett.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Brett Wimpkin. I'm with Sebago Technics and the contract planner for the town. This particular one, it's a footnote in the street design standards where it talks about a waiver can be granted for the reviewing authority. But for that one in particular, it's only for backlot driveways, which is staff level review. Technically, waivers are only granted by the planning board. And so essentially it's taking out that language, reviewing authority, and just switching it with planning board, just to make sure that if it's a standard that technically is being waived, it is being granted by the proper authority.
Is that 29?
It's 29.
Oh, all right. Okay, thank you. Oh, all right. A motion to approve Article 29 as written.
Can I just add some question just for me? I know that.
You do a second first.
You
There
made a
hasn't been-
motion, right?
I made a
It's been
motion.
moved.
Oh, a second, I'm sorry.
Okay,
second,
there
yeah.
you go.
So now discussion.
You know, I had asked if there was any way to do little notes on these to make it easier where it is going to be a secret ballot vote. I know we're going to do the informational thing, but I didn't know, when he just said it just pertains to the back lot, I thought that would be interesting if it just said that. It would at least, it would narrow the understanding, and I'm just asking that because, and I know you'd have many ballots, if you will, but little explanations like that, I'm reading it saying, how does this pertain? And I'm listening to his explanation, and he said, this pertains just to backlots. Even that little added on would be something that citizens would say, well, that doesn't affect me. So at least it would be clear enough, and I don't know how to do it. I'm not looking for all those solutions tonight, so I'm going to end up saying, yes, we're going to vote these through because it's a timetable. But I just wish we had a way of doing that, especially with the land ordinances, because they're very complex. So with that said, I know it's not going to happen tonight, but that little bit, I think, would add considerably to the public's knowledge for what it's worth.
Yeah, if you go to the last, in the e-packet, those last pages,
Yeah?
gives you information on each of those.
But this will be something they have to go on the internet to read, or be
Yep.
posted on the wall at the school, right?
It'll be posted on the wall.
And discussion.
The appendixes are, they're on the website as well, so they can be looked at ahead, but, you know, those will be posted there.
And we're having those meetings, discussion meetings
Okay,
as well.
well, I think that's important too. And someone like this gentleman speaking, or someone from the planning board, I just thought, as soon as it said backlog, I said, that doesn't affect me. Maybe that would be an easy thing to put in there, so for what it's worth. Other than that, I guess we're ready.
He's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Article
30.
30.
Article 30 was, we noticed a discrepancy in our ordinances between us and the state, how many days that you could appeal for a reconsideration of decision. Our ordinance said 16 days when the state was at 7, so we wanted to bring those, so we were in compliance with the state.
Okay, so a motion to approve Article 30 as written.
Second? Sam seconded it?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion? So we're moving it to the state standard from what ours was.
Right, I think maybe the state changed and we didn't catch up right away.
Other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried. Article 31.
31 is more administrative, it's just kind of making it more obvious about shore frontage and road frontage for shoreland zoning with regards to docks, really, and, lot size, minimum lot size.
This one.
It's really just changing the wording, and so it points to the 225, so that we didn't have to keep, if there ever was a change, you didn't have to change it in multiple spots in the ordinance. You could change it in one spot, and everything kind of pointed to that road and shore frontage.
Wouldn't you want those to be separate?
There is three. There's a separate one for residential. There's one for government institutional.
No, I'm talking about the road frontage and the shore frontage.
Shore and road.
I mean, they're the same distance, but I just think it's when the ordinances, instead of it being repeated, it just points to shore and road frontage as defined.
Okay, but if they were to change in the future to be two different,
You would just change one of the, right, but
you
just
can change
the
one without
number and then-
conjoining it with the other.
they're not conjoined necessarily as described as the same. It's just that they're described in the same location, 225 for shore front, 225 for road front. And that way, if you change it later on, you wouldn't have to go through the ordinance and find everywhere where it's noted. It's noted in the one spot and it points to that.
And by taking out the word shortage, then it just becomes frontage, whether it be shore or road.
Yeah, but I think more for just not having to repeat it other places in the ordinance as the road frontage, it's kind of known that that's the road frontage, that's the shore frontage, and then you don't have to change it in multiple locations in case in the future.
Okay, so you cleared it up with that last.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Motion to accept Article 31 as written.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried. 31.
31 was just kind of with the citizen petition solar ordinance, just to make it obvious.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
31 also has this dock.
Is that the dock one too?
Yeah,
That's the dock illustrations.
yeah. These are both.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
Couple questions on these. Docks are configured so many different ways now with 45s and connector pieces to help sturdy, especially on these T diagrams here. How is that going to be?
I mean, it's going to be an interpretation thing. When somebody comes in with a dock design, it's going to be up to us to make sure it conforms to the 6-foot width and,
Cross it out.
Well, it won't if you're putting in those stabilizing pieces. So then you'd have to, if you put a stabilizing piece on the T45 on each side,
sure.
you're going to have to shrink that middle piece down where it's barely walkable.
I mean, I think we're going to be reasonable about understanding how it is.
Kind of, but it's an ordinance. I mean, we have to go by the ordinance.
Right,
and
so
the lay of the land.
we'll have to look at each dock by dock. It's, there's no, we can't change the 6-foot width. Really, we're just kind of describing what the state wants us to describe as what's allowed on the water.
And the state hasn't run into this issue?
Oh, I'm sure they have, but
Do we know what their ruling is on that? I mean, it's kind of an important thing for people spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year on taxes, and then they realize they just bought a $30,000, $40,000 dock and it can't go
that's why
into
they
it.
come in with a sketch first. generally.
Yeah, well, a lot of these docks are already in place.
Yeah, some might be grandfathered, and then
Last page.
there's only, people get one dock permit, and then it's expected that they're gonna put that dock in the same configuration, the same spot every year. But it's not like every year they're coming in for a dock permit, and we're not out there on the water, inspecting docks, but there's,
But I guess my concern is the way this is written, you would not be able to have that type of dock or that reinforcement of
It
the
might
dock,
not be allowed.
which I think is safer than to have a dock just flying on the hinge here.
I just maybe just as a clarification, if I heard correctly at last night's planning board, the 6 foot is dictated by the state. The philosophy, as far as that goes, as I understood it, was the state doesn't want to encourage there to be platforms built off of docks, because the function of a dock is to access a water vehicle. And therefore, my understanding was that was where the state was going as far as the widths were concerned, and also as far as the configurations for that matter. What the state doesn't want to see is, 5 or 6 partitions connected to a dock to access a watercraft where they can, have parties.
Right, but
Is that correct?
that's,
I get what the state wants, but the state is not always most organized and correct. And by this, it's black and white ordinance there. This would not be okay with the town or the state, I
yeah,
guess.
I mean, I haven't seen too many of those, honestly.
This the new plastic docks, so there's quite a few of them.
So as they come in, and like I said, somebody comes with a plan, and,
But you guys can't say yes to that, is what I'm saying. The way this is currently written, so it doesn't matter. I mean, we can't.
if it's not, right, if it's more than 6 feet wide, we're not supposed to say
Right.
yes. And the DEP can, or the state can,
Right.
not that they're gonna come by on their
So-
boat and start dinging docks, but
Exactly.
we're on the hook.
And those blocks are 16 inches wide, so you're taking 3 feet off of, off of the 6 foot. So now you're maybe even more depending on how big those corner blocks are. Now you're having a 2 foot. I just think it's a more dangerous solution to a problem that doesn't currently exist.
Yeah.
But,
Especially on the west shore.
yeah, I mean, if
West
you
Shore,
have a
they
T
just
dock
store it.
and you park a boat out on it and the wind kicks up, if you don't have those stabilizing corners, that dock's just gonna get destroyed, and so is the boat, and then the boat down the shore and hits every other, I mean, it's just not,
Well, as far as it's not saying you can't put a support there. All it's saying
yeah,
is
100% it is, because the supports are at a 45 and they
It
make
just
this-
can't be decked over.
Yeah, if it's not decked over, if it's just
But the
a mechanical,
support
if it's
is,
a mechanical
the support on the plastic ones is a solid piece.
Yeah.
So those docks that those people
I mean,
have.
I'll give the state a call and see what their feelings are on it.
I know, but the same thing we're running into with comp plan, it's a,
But we're really just kind of explaining what the ordinance says. And those are just examples. Obviously, we can't put every dock configuration that someone can come up with on there,
yeah.
So you're not changing anything in the ordinance, you're just defining.
defining what the
Right.
dock is.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, we don't have ability to change the 6 foot width. That's the state.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, we already voted on it, so.
No, we didn't vote on it yet.
Yeah, we did,
voted
but we
on
can go
31.
back.
It's 2 in 1, so it's,
So
that is
Article
also
31,
part
we
of
can
it.
go back and
So the
readdress it.
changing of the shorefront and the road frontage is also this dock one. That's all combined into 31, which is, I don't know, I think it maybe should have been separate, but like I said, it's already 30, it's all in 31. And we already voted on it.
he's
Do you-
saying they
Can we
can't-
go back and readdress it?
You can if.
I think what we're hearing though is.
I think
Jason's saying you
I think it's
can't-
still a problem no matter if we pass it or.
Yeah, the state's
We're-
saying you can't do this. They're just showing us what the state's saying.
Yeah.
I'm just asking if they want to go back and address it, so yeah. All right, so we're moving on?
Okay. 32 is the solar.
So yeah, solar energy, this was just kind of explaining explicitly that making sure that people knew that they could still put rooftop solar on their houses and kind of the net metering to zero out your electricity bill, but you could not have a commercial for-profit system in rural residential or shoreland zoning. We just wanted to make sure that people who, while there aren't a lot of commercial operations in shoreland zone or rural residential, there are some that are grandfathered, and we kind of wanted to make sure that, they understood that they could still put solar up to zero out their electric bill, that they weren't somehow, just because they were a commercial enterprise, that their ability to put a solar on and zero out wasn't infringed upon.
What if their roof's so big they do produce more power, but it's just on their roof?
CMP won't cut you a check unless
Yeah.
you're a
Yeah,
certain
that's
different
true.
entity.
You can transfer that though, right, to other bills?
Registered in your name.
Right.
Yeah.
If they're registered, because that's what we looked at
Right.
when we were talking about putting the
Yeah.
one there.
Yeah, yeah.
Essentially, you then designate
Right.
which meters it's
off.
gonna
Pay the
credit
bill.
against.
Yeah.
For both.
So that would be fun then, because you can do multiple
The
places.
question I had with this is, it almost, and I'm probably wrong, but I read sometimes too much into it, it almost sounds like if you have a bunch of dormers on your, dormers on your roof or trees around your roof, you can't put a ground system in for your own house?
No, you do ground mounting
Okay, if
system.
it's just for your own use.
It's, yeah, as long as it's
Okay.
just for your own, to offset all your energy costs, basically.
I have another weird educational question on this. If you had a huge roof and you produced enough, and I mean, you're beyond a net zero, the way to do that is to change it over to commercial? Is that
That's
how you
my,
can actually
that's my
make profit?
understanding. A resident, it used to be years ago that if you produce more, I believe they would cut you a check. But
Right.
then they changed that, so now you can only zero out your electricity bill.
So no matter if you're is that just residential though, or is that commercial or residential?
As far as in
Like
zone, or?
if you owned a big house with a huge roof and you
Yeah.
put it on and you produced enough to actually make money, could you put it on your own personal residential roof as a commercial system to
Not
then
as,
make money?
not as the, it's.
I have,
No, I know, not as our ordinance is
Yep,
written. Well, that's
yep.
kind of what we're going to vote on.
As far
But
as the CMP?
Is it, yes, with CMP or in the other,
I
or in another
imagine
town?
there'd be a way to register with them, but I think there's a prohibitive cost to become an entity
That's-
that sells to the.
That's the
sells to the
only
grid.
thing I would have a small issue. I mean, I
Yeah.
doubt that it comes up a lot, but it would be if somebody had a roof and they wanted to, I mean, it's on their own roof. They're not creating a field next to somebody and doing all this, but they're creating so much power from that roof
Yeah.
that they would make a
Like I
profit.
said, my
and have to change it to
understanding-
commercial, then we wouldn't allow it in Raymond. I don't,
My understanding, you need a pretty large scale to make it viable
Right.
for you to go through the process to sell power to the
it's
grid.
probably, yeah, they make it
I
not
don't
good enough
think-
unless you have a field.
I don't think making $60 or $150 a
And this is
month.
village residential.
Right,
Right.
well,
I
yeah.
mean, yes.
and they wash it.
Well, some big houses in village residential.
I produce, my solars produce more than I use, and they wash it once a year, and they get the benefit of it. Other citizens get the benefit of whatever we produce. They don't
Yeah.
give me anything. And you are, even with solar panels, you're charged the hookup fee for the meter, and you hook in the cost. So it's like a base fee of $24 or $20.
But that's what I mean. If you wanted to
They-
register yours as commercial, you could make, but you, well, you can't with this
No, the
ordinance.
state
but-
wouldn't let me. I know, I went through it. They wash it once a year. That you can't, unless you
But
had a
it's-
commercial.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had a commercial set up in another town or whatever, but CMP, the way I studied the darn thing, and I thought about putting more on, and they said, no, it's residential, and we're gonna wash whatever you don't use.
That's because you probably registered it as residential. What I'm saying is, if you have a
Oh.
big enough roof and you register as commercial, then you probably can make that money off it.
Can't
But if we
that in the
do
village-
this, then we
You can't
won't be
do that
able
in the village, that's what this is also saying. You
Right.
can't put a commercial in the
That's it.
village.
I realize that's what we're discussing. If we make this change, somebody
There's
can't
no
do that.
change. So this is, we're just.
I know.
Just fixing
For-
the
before the
wording
old one
of
that
the
got-
citizens
right,
petition
exactly.
that was
Yes.
voted on.
Right.
That's
So it's just
interesting.
kind
I'll
of
have to look
cleaning up
into
the
that.
language.
All right, so motion to approve Article 32 as written.
Second.
Other discussion?
That's a lot, no?
All those in favor? Article 33.
33. I don't know, maybe Brett, could you speak to this one?
Here, have them sign this so we can hand it over to them.
Or, let me pull that up here real quick.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're still part of this, yes, sorry.
So this is the addressing ordinance changes from Wayne. I see Wayne's online as well, so maybe he can speak a little bit on it, but just like we talked last night at the planning board, essentially it is increasing the visibility of the the posted address on structures. Wayne, you could probably say that a little bit more eloquently than I did.
No, you did a good job. That's what it's about. You know, from responding on emergency calls and from doing inspections, the 3-inch number, unless the building is right on the street, is difficult to spot for emergency responders trying to get to a call. The other thing that's trying to be addressed is trying to make sure that that E911 address is on both sides of either a mailbox or a post, whatever they're choosing to use to have their address, that we can see it from both directions of travel. You know, for example, people that have their address on a mailbox, they'll put it on the side that the post office approaches from, and that's not always the side that we're coming from. So that's what the address is, the addressing ordinance is trying to address.
Does it change the size of the lettering it has to
Yeah, the
use?
4-inch. 3
It
inches.
goes from 3 to 4, I think.
3 to 4,
Okay.
yes.
And I guess the question I would have there is, you know, assuming this passes and whatnot, what information is going to be sent to each homeowner to advise them of this change and what they specifically have to do?
We can certainly do some kind of flyer.
Flyover?
Sorry.
Flowers.
Some kind of a flyer. Pardon me, I'm on the road, so bear with me a little bit. We could probably do some kind of a flyer. We could do something on the, on the TV network here. The other thing, it was suggested last night, is a project for the Eagle Scouts with our Troop 800, which was a great idea to help us get the message out and help us with folks that might not be able to take care of it themselves. So there's some different things in the works that way that we could use.
I have a question.
Me too.
Go ahead.
So if I have 3-inch numbers on my mailbox, both sides, the house is off the road 400 feet. I'll have to change those to 4-inch numbers, correct?
No, we're not looking to do that. Like, for an example, and I used it last night at the planning board, if you were to open up a home occupation, that would be a time where we would ask you to change the size of your number on your mailbox. But to drive around town and say, oh, this address only has, it has it on both sides, but it's only 3 inches and it's on the mailbox right on the street. No, that's not what we're looking to do. We're looking for the ones, here's an example. On a lot of the new buildings, that when we go to inspect them, the new homes, they sit back from the road more than 50 feet. And 3 inches at 50 feet or greater is really hard to see, especially in a moving vehicle. So that's what the ordinance is, trying to help us out to find people quicker.
And not to complicate this, but I understand that you now, or 911 now prefers, instead of having 33A or 33B, if you have a mother-in-law.
In-law.
Yeah, in-law. I love my mother-in-law. Anyway, if you have an in-law apartment, you would want, and it's now a fairly good size, you would want one to be Unit 1 or Unit 2 instead of A or B. Is that correct? That's not in here, but is that something you're looking to move forward with?
So on new buildings, or if it's a new in-law apartment, yes, it would be addressed that way, Unit 1 or Unit 2.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I guess the only other issue I have, is kind of that flexibility issue. So you're doing it, you're doing a change there. We have an enforcement section in there which gives you, a penalty of $50 a day but not more than $500. The question would be, what kind of a grace period is
Yeah,
going to be
that was one of my questions.
going to be done on there? Because, you send out this notice or whatever, and then somebody notices, and somebody doesn't like their next door neighbor, and all of a sudden they put in a thing. Theirs is only 3 inches. And
Yeah.
so now you've got an NOV.
Yeah,
that's
give
gotta
somebody
be
a week or
issued.
two.
I would say that they're grandfathered. That's.
Oh, this is just for new construction?
This is going to be new going forward, and as I go into inspections, if I see people that don't have a number on the house, I kind of
They're
say,
gonna
hey,
get it anyway.
Hey, come on, I had trouble finding your house, and I know the town pretty well by now. God forbid you have something happen and that they can't find your house. So, but
I still think it's fun, because a house is going to be built in 2025, and then it sells 3 years later, it sells again 3 years, and then all of a sudden, some kid peeled off the stuff. Give them, maybe give somebody a week or so. I don't.
We're gonna be pretty reasonable about this. So we'll ask them if it's recurring, then it's gonna have to be.
The other one I have is under B. Let's see, section 7B, I believe, where it says the street address shall be installed for each unit to be visible and approached from both sides of the direction of the street. Blah blah. The way that's worded, it sounds like the entire street address. I mean, it says it. The street address shall be installed for each unit. So you'd have to have. My road's easy. It's only 4 letters, but for somebody that's 33 Eastern Painted Turtle Cove Road or whatever they have down there, they're not gonna be able to fit that on a house, a mailbox, anything. So the way that's worded is not going.
So I think I just heard you say that the ordinance calls for the name of the road.
It says the street address will be
The
installed.
street address meaning the numeric.
I realize.
That's what it is. No, only. They're not looking for Eastern. That would be.
Yeah.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. The way it's worded says the street address shall be on there. It doesn't say the number.
Okay, no, and that wasn't the intent of that, correct, Wayne?
No.
That wasn't.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, right.
It's more like for the duplexes.
It is.
That you'd have, say it's 365 Webb's Mills Road, just.
No, I understand what you guys meant, because there's zero way you can fit that on a house. I just think that we should probably get it changed before we approve it and send it into.
If you get a unit 1 and a unit 2, you can certainly have your main address and then have the number 1 for unit 1 and a number 2 for unit 2. We've been dealing with that with some of our, like duplexes that are going in. So that's what that's about.
And we have several units that are more than 6, and each unit has to have the unit number on it.
Yep.
So we know we're going to 86 Blank Road, Unit 6.
Right.
So we can find the right door.
Is there an easy way to change that though? Before we. I'm not.
Can we make
the
an
way
amendment is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. The way it's worded.
Before we voted?
If you have, now you've got the only thing that you could do is say that, the select board does not recommend, because it's you'd either have to remove it entirely and say no, or you'd say does not recommend.
Yes, because the way it's given to us.
Because if we change it now, it's not the same ordinance, it's not the same thing
Right.
that the planning board
Did.
Right.
So the only, your options are either to say that we do not recommend, or you say, we do recommend, and then ask them to do a modification, a clarification for the next time around, or, or we could make the decision not to even have that on the ballot. I mean, that's really your 2 options that you can do. Either, I mean, 3 options, either say, yes, you approve, yes, we recommend, or
2 you don't
or
recommend.
no, we do not recommend, or
Take it off.
we agree to take it off the warrant altogether. And then it would come back at the next time around.
I think it's silly for me. I just think it's silly to not recommend it and pass it through in case there's an issue, and most common people are going to read it and hopefully no. I mean, we can work about changing it next year, I guess, just to
That's
reword
what
it
I'm
correctly like we do every year. But it would be silly to not recommend it for this one sentence that's incorrect to go ahead.
Chair, if it were reworded to say the street address and street name, the street address is the 911 numeric that I assign when they get an occupancy or a building permit rather, which might be number 86. That is the street address. 86 units 1, 2, and 3 would also be a street address. The name of the road is the name of the road. So that would be the differentiation there.
You know, if we're going to be sending out a notice to people and you know, one suggestion on how you also let people know, we're in the process of having the reval people visit each house so that they can drop off a flyer at the same time.
Like that.
That's a good idea.
I mean, they're visiting every house, so why not?
They were at mine yesterday.
They were at mine today.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to recommend Article 33 as written, and you guys can do from there.
Second it.
Discussion? All those in favor? Okay, motion is carried.
Okay.
Thank you.
That is all the planning board articles, correct?
Correct.
Can I throw something in because it didn't come up until late? It's not on the agenda, but is this scheduling issue. Bill cannot do the 17th regarding a Saturday informational hearing because we had the 31st and we went back to the 17th as, you know, if the 31st wasn't available. The 17th he cannot do. Correct, Bill?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's correct.
And we can't get the 31st?
We don't know yet.
Oh.
But I just want to make sure we have that backup, and Bill came out and talked to us about that, and I want to make sure that that did get covered tonight as far as the schedule goes.
So let's see what Mel comes back with because she's going to, or,
She has an email out right now to Bill Hanson.
yeah.
So yeah, we're just waiting for a response.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully the 31st is clear, and if that is, then
That's great.
non-issue.
Exactly.
Okay.
If not, I mean, you know, because it's not going to, you run into the issue on some of those, whether it can be live streamed or whether you just tape it and then it's going to go. So, I mean, that's been some of the issues in the past is live streaming from the school is not as easy as live streaming from here.
No.
But
There's a lot of setup.
they can tape it and then immediately bring it in.
Gotcha.
And play, you know, and put it on the loop.
Mm.
So.
All right, so I just want to make sure I got that. So go ahead. I can run public comment.
Okay.
Here, do you need a pen?
Did you say public comment? I didn't know.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no, thanks. Grace Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. Just a quick clarification, because Derek saw me starting to get up on the last warrant article that you were voting on. I was just going to say, please go ahead with this. It's a safety issue, and the sooner the better that it starts getting addressed. I've tried to find addresses myself, and it's really difficult. Some people have no numbers at all still, so maybe I'll be reporting somebody soon. I don't know, but no, I'm joking about that part of it. I just wanted to get up this evening. I'm not the spokesperson for the RSU 14 board, but I am on the RSU 14 board, and I just want to relay the information so that hopefully whoever's listening to the meeting or watches it later on knows that we did indeed approve the proposed FY26 budget last evening at our board meeting. And so I'm just encouraging folks to, you know, we've had many meetings, not just on the budget, but also on report outs from each building over the last several months as far as the work that's going on in each of the schools. There's great stuff going on, and I would encourage folks that they get online and watch some of the meetings and be informed about all the good work going on into RSU 14, as well as the budget process, which, as I'm sure you know, is a very lengthy, very, very careful process. And so I look forward to folks checking out those meetings, and also check out the progress that's being made on the building of the new middle school. The foundation work is going to get underway, and Rolf's on the committee, and so So really, if you haven't seen the site of where it's going to be, it's truly amazing. I'm so excited about a new middle school. Yeah, absolutely. So please do check out this information on the RSU 14 website as well. May 14th, 6:30. Oh, I'm sorry. Something.
I think you're going to answer the question I was asked.
May 14th, 6:30 at Wyndham High School Auditorium is when we have the school budget hearing for folks. I would encourage people to come. You'll get a very clear explanation, much clearer than I could do trying to get you guys to get to your move to adjourn this evening than I would do. So please do attend that. And also, it should also be on YouTube and watching it there if you're unable to attend in person, but it would be a chance to ask any questions you have. And that's when the hearing would occur for the public to give their thoughts on what's being brought forward. There will also be an article in the Wyndham Eagle that will explain the increase. Yes, there's an increase. Surprise. And also there will be a mailing from the RSU later on in the spring that will give you some updates on work that's being done in the schools and the district, and also on the budget being proposed. And last but not least on that topic, on June 10th when we're voting, I would encourage everyone to support the school budget. Again, it's been a really long process, done very, very carefully, and really doing good things for the students in our district, in our towns. On a different topic, having to do with programming on channels 2 and 3, I don't know who sets what shows, what meetings are on, but I would hope that there could be some more recent meetings than have been recurring constantly, especially, as I mentioned, the school board meetings that we've had for the last really all year long. There's been a lot of information shared, but certainly starting with February when we really started going into the budget in more detail, that would help on that topic. But again, there's been great presentations by all of the administrators and staff about what's happening.
I wrote it down.
And that would be good. So updating some of the meetings there, and for that matter, some of the other municipal meetings, I think would be helpful. If people keep tuning into the last November meeting, they don't tend to watch it, and I don't blame them. Let's see. I just would hope that, and somebody else might be saying this in a minute, that before anybody leaves the building this evening, probably after the meeting is adjourned, that there be some clarity over what's going to exactly happen as far as edits, changes. I'm a language teacher. Words are really important. An edit is not the same as change, is not the same as whatever. Just like street address, number, road name, I mean, it certainly does need to be carefully worded for people to be having the same meaning on both sides of a conversation. So I would just hope that the next steps are really clear and that there's not a lengthy delay in finally having the town support the comprehensive plan. Again, I know how much work went into it, even though I wasn't at all the meetings. I might as well have been at all the meetings. But anyway, I do really appreciate all the work that the committee put into it. And I think there's a lot of good information in that comprehensive plan for anyone else listening that hasn't looked at even what's on there yet, even though there's some changes yet to be made. There's a lot of information about the town there that's really good reading, too. So anyway, that is it. Thank you.
Oh, wait, one thing.
Oh, sorry.
One question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Have the school or whatever send to Joe or whatever, the information on number one, the date of that meeting, and then the other information so they can get posted on the website as well.
Yes. Okay. Will do. Thank you.
And mine was just.
Oh, sorry.
Just thank you for volunteering on that. I mean, it's a thankless job that, takes hours and hours and hours of time. So we really appreciate, I do, can't speak for everyone, but very much appreciate you being up there. And
just like all of you up there, I must be a really sick person, but I enjoy it. But I do. I'm a retired educator with over 43 years of teaching, and then 6 years as leader of the Education Association, our state representing 24,000 members. So this is my life, is public education. So please get out and support our district when the time comes to vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. I actually wrote this today after reflecting on Tuesday night's meeting. I didn't realize it would be as germane as I believe it is, so it's brief. So the conversation regarding short-term rentals, I'll make it clear, I'm neither an opponent or a proponent of it. And the reason is, like a lot of people would be, is because I don't have enough information about it. So I can't say where I'm for it or against it. But what I do know is that process sometimes in this town can be difficult. And what there needs to be is more transparency, fairness, and improved communication. And I think that was identified through my experience with the comprehensive plan and the people of this town. As far as short-term rentals are concerned, a lot of the flap that I've heard comes from concerns about garbage, parking, outrageous parties, bonfires. That's what makes it a complex issue as far as enforcement and handling all those things, and I appreciate that. But at this point in time, what I'll tell you is there should be, in ordinances, a minimum standards. They should already exist with a focus on environmental and safety impacts. And I'm not hearing much in the way of that discussion. It's all about, I don't want rowdy kids having a bonfire on the beach next to my residence. So I just bring that up. And the reason I say that it already should have taken place is just for a timeline. The first time that a group appeared before the selectmen to discuss short-term rentals was August 10th, 2021. So from that point to now, it's almost 5 years. And there was 2 meetings. There was one on August 10th, 2021, select board meetings where these individuals appeared. And then there was a November 15, 2022, where they actually came with a draft ordinance that was posted on your e-bits or whatever it is that you have for the meeting. So on just as a recap is when I'm talking about process and I'm talking about improved communication and I'm talking about transparency and fairness. At the November 2020 meeting, the chair opened the discussion on this agenda item with the statement, there will be no action taken on this issue tonight. I would ask parliamentarians, I would ask chairmen, I would ask, is that a statement you can even make? I believe you can't, because if it's on the agenda to have a discussion and the chairperson has already decided that there'll be no action taken on this item, that chairman is speaking for the board. And so that kind of, when I was reviewing that, kind of floored me. The board did agree at that meeting to wait until there was state legislative guidance before acting. And you all know that the wheels up in Augusta turn slowly. But almost 5 years. And certainly there are ordinances that have been crafted involving short-term rentals that have so far only gotten to address safety issues, which I think fire and safety would probably be interested in, or the planning board, or code enforcement officer. As I heard it described once, we define our occupancy by bedrooms. So if there's a camp that's got a 20 by 20 bedroom and 15 bunks in it, that's what you have. And is it checked for fire safety? Is it checked for septic? And I would think that those would be the first things we'd focus on, and really should already have those things now. The chair stated at that meeting that he was, and the board was in agreement, that they were going to refer it to the newly formed Comprehensive Plan Committee. I can tell you with absolute assurity that issue was never referred from the Select Board to the newly formed Comprehensive Care Plan Committee, which we're talking 2.5 years ago. And lastly, and I guess this is my point in the frustration I saw in the fact that these individuals are now back with a petition, flawed as it was, 290 signatures, 290 people in the town that said, yes, this is an issue that should be studied. And I was gratified that the board actually voted to forward it to the planning board for review, almost 5 years from whence it first came in front of you. But the board never gave any specific guidance to the Citizen Short-Term Rental Advocacy Group. You gave them no guidance. The most you would say is, it's an involved process getting an ordinance passed. Thank you very much. That gives me the way to go forward. As the individual speaking from the group, for the group last night said, he twice brought it to the planning board. And they kicked it to you. And you kicked it back to them. Does that sound reminiscent of a citizen's petition a 1.5 years ago involving solar ordinances? It sounds vaguely familiar. So I'll close by saying this. I rise tonight with a sincere plea to all current and future members of Raymond's leadership. Be courageous, fair, honest, and impartial. Always advocate for what is in the best interest of our residents and community, regardless of your own personal agenda. Thank you.
Exactly. Very good.
Selectman comment.
Sam was just talking.
Oh,
No, he said he agreed.
Hmm?
He just said he agreed.
no. Okay. One thing that, so, we had the whole thing we went through the other night in appointing the health officer. After we did that, the health officer that was appointed has submitted his resignation, so we will post that on the website. The good news portion of that is because we did appoint it and then he's resigned, that starts the 30-day clock anew, because otherwise we'd be in the position of being in violation of the state requirement on there that you must appoint within 30 days of the resignation. Other selectmen comment? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.